You told us on May that you were going to give us all of Lois Lerner's emails, and you learned in February that this crashed.
I did not learn in February it was a crash, and we told you on Monday.
I'm not asking you a question. I'm just making a statement.
My apologies.
You are the Internal Revenue Service. You can reach into the lives of hardworking taxpayers, and with a phone call, an email, or a letter, you can turn their lives upside down. You asked taxpayers to hang on to 7 years of their personal tax information in case they're ever audited, and you can't keep 6 months worth of employee emails?
I love that bite. All right, welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. Joining us now on the Malzberg panel on this Friday is the co-host of Steele Ungar on SiriusXM Radio, Rick Ungar, and radio host and author of The Big Black Lie, Kevin Jackson. Gentlemen, welcome.
Nice to be here. Steve.
My pleasure. All right, let's start with Kevin first. Kevin, your response to what we saw today, in my view, we saw arrogance on display in the form of the IRS commissioner, non-apologetic, and this just keeps going on.
Yeah, I got to tell you, if you were watching and really paying attention to intonation and body language, Paul Ryan is truly outraged. That's the first thing that you would not miss. I mean, he's sitting there completely perplexed. He's vexed in every way. And I think every citizen, that certainly on the right, that's watched this case unfold, you're sitting there as he's laying out, kind of connecting the breadcrumbs, if you will. You're just saying this is almost impossible to believe. But to your point, the smugness of the IRS official, the guy that wants you to believe this lie, I got to tell you, is indicative of everything that we've warned people about with respect to the Obama administration and quite frankly, big government in general.
Rick, I mean, he was brought in to kind of clean up the act of the IRS, to fix this, to set things straight. And there he is, in my view, reflecting, the man in the Oval Office as he would testify almost. Hey, she threw it out, and I don't know what happened to it. Dude, it was 3 years ago, and I have no apologies. And what's going on here?
The last thing I intend to do is defend the IRS on this. But come on, guys. What did you just say about he's acting like the man in the Oval Office?
Yeah,
he's not the man in the Oval Office. He's the IRS commissioner. But look, there's a very thin line, as we all know, between arrogance and insecurity. That was a guy sitting there going, I got no answers. I don't know what to say, because you know what? He's got no answers. There are no answers. Look, the best point, and you and Bill Crystal made it earlier, how can the IRS expect all of us to keep our records for 7 years, and they only seem to think they need to keep emails for 6 months? I mean, there's a reason that people are expected to keep emails longer for exactly this kind of a situation. So any inkling any of us had to support the IRS, it's kind of gone out the window, I think.
Okay, Kevin.
I'm having trouble trying to figure out which side he falls on. Look, this is patently ridiculous. Forget the idea that the IRS should be keeping data as long as they require of us, even though they won't pay you nearly as long. You can owe the IRS and they can collect anytime they want, but if they owe you, there's a 3-year statute of limitations. But just the idea that in the middle of an investigation, the key figures, Lois Lerner and the 6 other potentially complicit people, suddenly their data has disappeared, and the gall, and for somebody to say, well, he didn't know what to say. Let me tell you what you say when you're asked a question of Congress and they want specific answers. You say things like this: you know what? I think we really screwed the pooch. I believe we've let the American people down. I think that we probably do need to do a little bit more digging, because there may be some shenanigans going on in my agency of which I'm unaware. That's what the American people want, is they want truthfulness. They don't want this subterfuge over, well, listen, we gave you and we answered the question. You didn't ask me that question 6 months ago. You're supposed to be bringing your data the same way as expected of an American citizen who's under audit.
Rick?
I think sometimes people go by labels, and because he thinks that I'm a liberal, you're a little confused. I agreed with you. I agreed with you from the outset. I said he didn't know what to say because he's busted. Set aside your preconceived notions of what a liberal's supposed to say and a conservative is. I don't do talking points. I tell you what's on my mind. The IRS screwed up here huge. Why don't you take the agreement and not try and berate me for agreeing with you? My goodness.
I have
All right, without making this about
That's just the strangest thing I've ever seen.
Ungar versus Jackson or Jackson versus
agree.
Ungar. I want to concentrate on what this means. And so Rick, so where does this lead? I mean, we have the three major networks, not one of whom felt it was necessary to report that Lois Lerner threw away her hard drive. So you see how much they care about it. How much traction is this going to build? Something else that, and maybe you could comment on this, something else that Bill Kristol said was that they should use, the Republicans should use this to try to revamp, rein in the IRS legislatively, and that will get the media's attention. You will force the media to cover it that way.
Yeah, I understand. I have to be honest and say I haven't been paying attention to the big three, but I've been hearing quite a bit that some major media outlets haven't been covering the story. I can tell you that on my radio show tomorrow, this is the lead story. So I don't understand how.
So tune in at 11 a.m.
Yes.
on SiriusXM.
I
Steele
don't know how
Ungar.
somebody could not cover this. I really don't. I mean, it's such a even if the government is telling the truth at every step of the way here, there's no way out of this. The fact that, by the way, it's not just Lois Lerner's computer that supposedly crashed. It's now 8 people.
Right.
Including Lois Lerner. What did they do? Have a football game and use their computers as the ball? How do 8 computers crash? So that's a little touchy. Then you go to the next level. If they did crash, well, every business, every company, every person keeps backups of their emails on a hard drive. Apparently, the IRS only does it for 6 months. Go figure. They look bad no matter if they're telling the truth or not telling the truth.
Kevin, go ahead.
Well, first of all, the idea that the IRS, and I know Mr. Unger is not trying to say that that's the case, but the IRS keeps data as long as anybody else keeps it. They can go get it indefinitely.
They should.
And I know they can go get it. And as far as I want to go back to one of the key points. If you don't know something, what people want to know is what you're willing to do when someone connects the dots for you, as Paul Ryan eloquently did and said, this is the litany of lies that we've been told leading up to this investigation. It's your agency that's doing it. And to give someone an excuse to say, well, he was caught, so he didn't want to say anything. That's what he's there for. He's in front of Congress to tell people, you know what? The American public, you may have lost faith in us, and rightfully so. And there's no excuse for this.
Kevin, we got to go. We'll come back with both of you on the Steve Malzberg Show. You want to get in touch with us on social media? Here's how.